Being a nice boss is overrated. And if you're too nice, you might be actually holding your team back. I had to learn this the hard way. I'm Hadi, an immigrant geologist turned banking leader, and today I'm gonna go through 5 leadership lessons I learned from Kim Scott's Radical Candor. These lessons helped me to earn respect, to be able to give much better feedback to my team, and to build a strong trust within my team. And stick around as I'm gonna give away the exact script that changed my one-on-ones forever. The Radical Candor framework: care personally and challenge directly. Radical Candor is all about caring deeply for your team, but also challenging them directly. So it's not one or the other, it's both together. And so based on that, Kim Scott really categorizes leader into 4 quadrants. The sweet spot, as we said, is someone who really cares deeply for their teams. And I know saying that seeing your team as your family is such a cliche, and really it's not true. But if you look at them as your work family, if you really care about their well-being and their career path, and they're being motivated and happy in what they do, that's what makes you a really great leader. But you also need to challenge them directly and help them to see their weak spot and be able to work on those to get to and reach to their full potential. The second type of leader is ruinous empathy. And unfortunately, most of leaders probably fall into this one, because lots of good leaders would care deeply about their team and they want to make sure that they do everything right by them. However, they might not challenge them directly because, let's face it, challenging someone directly, even our own families, giving them feedback about something that they're not really doing right, is not comfortable. Plus, especially if you're a new manager or any manager, we want to be liked by our teams. And naturally, we might feel that if we give feedback to the people, it might be harsh because we're really pointing out their shortcomings. And so that's the area that if you're falling into that, if you think you're not, somebody is not doing something right, but you are hesitant to go and tell them, you might really watch this video because it's going to be helpful for you to learn how to be more comfortable to give feedback. But also, I really encourage you to read the full book because it comes with lots of diagrams and structures and scripts that can help you to just beef up and level up your leadership skills. The next one is obnoxious aggression. That's the classic jerk boss that you see in the movies. These are the type of managers who look at their teams really as a tool to get them to what they want. So if you're doing something wrong, they will definitely let you know right away in front of everyone in the worst possible way. But they really don't care about you. Even if you do all things right, they just don't care. You're just a tool for them. And I know you're not one of them, otherwise you wouldn't have cared to watch this video. But if you're working in those type of teams, you might want to consider leaving that team as soon as possible. And the next one is manipulative insincerity. These are the managers who don't care about their teams, but they also don't challenge them even because they possibly just checked out because of the environment they're in. Maybe they have some sort of personal issue, they just checked out. So they stop caring altogether about work. Sometimes these are the managers who just have more of a passive-aggressive type of characteristic. And these are the type of managers that they look at the team as a tool, but they're in front of their teams, they're nice to them. And it's very difficult sometimes to find out that your manager is like that because you feel something is off, because your manager is nice to you, but then you start hearing that behind your back, this manager is making fun of you. They're throwing you under the bus if they're in a different senior leadership meeting and there's an issue coming up. So they're just not sincere whatsoever. Again, if you're working in one of those teams, you really want to consider leaving that team. So here's your action plan. In your next one-on-one, deliver one piece of feedback you've been holding back. Use this script. I value your work and I want to push you further. Here's one area that will help you grow. Write care plus challenge on a sticky note and keep it visible during feedback moments. So this first lesson is all about why it's really important and powerful to give feedback. But it's not easy to just go and give some sort of a constructive feedback to someone. You need to create a safe environment for everyone to be able to give and get feedback. And that leads us to lesson 2. Make feedback your superpower. get, give, and encourage guidance. Let me tell you, feedback isn't a one-way street. It's not when you're providing feedback to your family, and it's not when you provide feedback to your team. So it's really important to encourage and seek feedback, give feedback, but also encourage it across your team. So your team start giving feedback to each other as peers and to their junior and senior team members. You just want to create a safe environment for everyone to be able to provide a comment when they see a shortcoming is happening somewhere. And that would lead to such high-performing and way more motivated teams. How to get guidance. This one is quite challenging, especially if you're working in a hierarchical corporation when lots of people get used to that whole concept of, oh, this person is my boss. I'm not supposed to give them feedback. It's the other way around. They're supposed to give me feedback. You really need to work with everyone and explain to them that that's not the case, that you don't believe in that kind of rigid hierarchy. You really appreciate people's feedback about how you are doing. And the way I broke it down to my team after reading this book was I was just open to them. I said, I recently read a book that has really changed the way I think about providing feedback. And I encourage everyone who is interested in leadership to go and read that book. But also I told them one of the first things is not just about me providing feedback to you, but I want to make sure that I'm creating a safe environment for you so you feel comfortable to give me feedback. And then in my one-on-ones, I would provide feedback, but I also would ask them, what's one feedback that you want to give to me? And especially in the beginning, lots of people were not comfortable to provide that. So they're like, oh, you're the most amazing manager I've ever had. Yeah, sure. But when you keep repeating that, and then especially if they say something small, even if it's completely irrelevant to you, even if you inside you're so offended, you cannot show that emotion, because just remember, a manager, usually in hierarchical corporations, has some sort of a weight for people or intimidation, even if you're not looking for that. And if you don't really like that, that's the reality for not everyone in the team. But there's always going to be people that they're just not going to feel comfortable to give you feedback. So imagine after sessions and sessions of trying to make them comfortable, if they say something about something completely not even relevant to you, oh, I think the structure of team meetings, that person said that could have been this way. And maybe you completely disagree with them. But you don't want to just tell them right away, well, you're wrong. You want to make sure that you stay very quiet, super respectful, probably not even answer them right there, and try to keep some time to think about it, because you want to make the team feel comfortable to provide that feedback. So if you see somebody saying something, just make sure you're not going to be going to that defensive type of mode, because guess what? They're not going to give you any more feedback. Now, it's also really important on how to give feedback. First of all, you want to be humble. I could be wrong, but you also want to be immediate. If you're going to a meeting and something happens, don't wait until you're one-on-one to give feedback. Right away, pull the person after the meeting aside, somewhere private. Obviously, you don't want to embarrass someone in front of everyone. And just, again, with a good tone, just explain to them what happened and why you think that could have done better. The next one is that you want to be specific about exactly what happened and what's the feedback. You don't want to go and beat around the bush. Like, be specific with the facts and details. Also, you don't want to focus on the personality and the characteristic. You want to focus on behavior. The last one is that you want to be helpful. You don't want to just go and criticize someone without providing any support. If you're looking for the script I use in my one-on-ones, check out the comment section and let me know if you have any other questions that I can answer you as well. Encourage guidance. You also want to encourage guidance, especially when the feedback is being provided upward. I always thank the team when they call me on something. So if I'm going too fast with an idea or a project and the team raises the risk in front of everyone, I thank them and I said, I'm really grateful for having you in my team. That always makes me to stay humble and to really consider the risk and not go and fall off the cliff if I'm going too fast. Ask your team this week, what's one thing I can do better to support you? And every team meeting with, what's one thing we should try differently as a team next week? Act on at least one piece of feedback within 7 days so people know you're serious. But giving and receiving feedback is not the only way to increase your team's performance. We also need to employ proper motivation techniques. And just a hint, you're probably doing it wrong. I was doing it completely wrong. Luckily, lesson 3 will clear that up for you. Motivation matters. Rockstars versus superstars. It might surprise you, but not everyone in your team want to climb the ladder. It certainly really surprised me when I learned that when it comes to your high performers, some of them really want to master their craft, and we call them rock stars. And the other are your typical, this person is a high performer, they're looking for visibility, they're looking for new challenge, and they're fast and furious, and we call them superstar. Now, the motivation techniques that you need to use for these two type of individuals are quite different than each other. First of all, you need to have both. You can't just attract the superstars in your team because they're awesome. They deliver so much, but they also leave quite faster. You always need to have your rock stars who are gonna stay much longer, so they create that continuity and stability in your team. And they're also the ones that are gonna train others in your team, generally speaking. So you wanna have a good mix of both, first of all. And then the way you motivate them when it comes to the rock star is that you give them mastery projects that it's gonna really depend their skill set. You're gonna send them to the right technical, usually trainings. When it comes to your superstars, you wanna give them a stretch assignments. You wanna give them visibility. And that would help them to be really motivated because they're working on something that they know that they're going to be recognized, and because of that visibility that comes with it. Ask each team member, what does growth look like for you in the next 18 months? Label who's a rock star versus superstar. Rock stars deepen craft, showcase expertise. Superstars stretch roles, visibility, presentations. Review monthly. Are you matching projects to motivation? Oftentimes as leaders, we think that we should have all the answers, but sharing a little bit of vulnerability goes a long way to build trust. And that leads us to lesson 4. Build trust through vulnerability. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to perfect in your personal life. You don't have to perfect just because you're a leader at work. Honestly, we're just the same humans. We just have increased mandate. That doesn't mean all of a sudden we have to know everything. We have to be perfect when it comes to communicating our messages and our feedback and all the things that comes with that. Sharing vulnerability with your team, showing that you're also a human and make mistakes, really builds deep trust with your team. So here's how to do it. You want to share your mistakes. You want to let the team know when you don't know something, when they ask you something and you're like, oh, actually, I don't know about that. Let me take it back and look into it. You also want to let the team know that you're working on yourself, that you understand your own shortcomings and you're working on them. Share one mistake in your next team meeting and the lesson learned. Say, I don't know. What do you think? At least once this week. Start a 5-minute learning moment ritual in meetings for everyone to share small failures and lessons. Have real career conversations. Be a career coach, not just a boss. Your job isn't just to manage performance. It's about to help the teams to get to their career dreams and to move them forward. And that, in my opinion, really is the core difference between being a manager and being a leader. So there is a 3-part conversation that you want to go through with your team. And if you haven't done that in the past, maybe this provides a great opportunity for you this week, this month, to put together that with your team. You want to, first of all, understand their life story. What experiences they went through that shaped who they are today. You want to understand their dreams when it comes to their careers. Is leadership is where they want to move to? Do they want to move to an entirely different teams, entirely different department? And the last one is that when you understand the 1 and 2, you want to put together an 18 months plan to be able to help them. Even if they don't get where they want to be, at least you get them closer to where they want to be. Schedule one 30-minute career conversation with each team member this month. Use the life story, dream, 18-month framework. Document their goals and check in quarterly. And if you want to know how to create an environment to foster those honest and open discussions when it comes to your career conversations this month, watch my next video on Never Split the Difference when I go through different strategies, how to create that positive environment.